Welcome to the TGC Experience with your hosts, Nilto and Victor.
All right. How about that change of energy from jazz to electronic music?
Significant difference,
right? Just like TGC being inside of a gym, bro.
Yeah.
Isn't that
how fitting is that?
It's very different, right? Because none of us are really that fit, right? If you think about it, but it is what it is. We gotta
chase. I mean, we're in the right spot, right?
We gotta strive to be better, right?
Yes, sir.
I talk about the Kaizen philosophy the other day in one of my reels, which is a philosophy that the Asians have used for millennia, and they talk about just being better every single day, a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be perfect, just be better than yesterday, and you're good to go, right? So essentially, that's the vibe that we have with this podcast, right? I always try to be better, strive to be better, right, in all senses, and I think that's the definition of really being a Christian, just trying to be better every single day.
A little bit closer to Jesus.
Yeah, it won't be perfect.
And it was interesting because I was actually having a conversation with Alain, I think it was last week, and I mentioned to him that, like, in a perfect world, it probably didn't make sense that me, very out of shape, looking to get in shape, was working out in the same gym as him, like a bodybuilder. And he gave me this profound message where he said, it's the same concept. It's the same mindset, because I am looking to get better and you are looking to get better. We may be in different levels, but the mindset is the same. So I thought it was really cool and even more motivating too.
Yeah, if you really think about it, we talk about being in the right environment and to change, right? So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be around successful entrepreneurs. If you want to be successful in whatever area, you got to find people that are successful, and you got to try to network with those people. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, perfect segue.
Yeah, because all of us in this room today, the two of us.
All of us.
The two of us. I'm still getting used to it.
Yes.
We cut the staffing by half. So the two of us started a business intensively last year, right? I know you've had energy in your mind for a lot of time, but you actually started acting on it last year intensively. Mm-hmm. And it was the same thing with me and BYOB. And I learned, I feel like I learned 10 years worth of content in 1 year.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I feel like that's where there's this concept of, like, when you go to college, right, and you get a degree, you get a lot of, like, the theoretical, like, book smart type of stuff. But when you're actually getting your hands dirty in a business, I think the learning curve is exponential, because you are actually doing it yourself and you're learning through practice, which I think is significantly more valuable than just kind of sitting at a desk and learning it theoretically on a board.
Yeah, although the theory helps as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
So
because nowadays a lot of people try to downplay the theory.
Yeah.
I had one of my agents reach out to me a couple of months ago, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna drop out of college and just work with you 100% of the time." And I was like, "Hey, that decision is yours to make. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I approve or disapprove, because I went to college myself, right?
Right.
And I will never be able to tell you how much college has impacted me.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, it's easy for me to say, I don't use anything that I've learned in college.
But you don't know it.
But I don't know for a fact, because college wasn't just about the subject teaching, right? It's about the discipline, the focus. I worked full-time. I studied full-time. So that built character. You had to deal with professors telling you to do things that you didn't agree with. But that's life. Sometimes you just got to tough it up, swallow up and a tough pill and make it happen. So I told her, listen, if you're not going to go to college and you're going to work with me, my demand to you is that you sign up for a course within our business every single quarter, and you prove to me that you actually did it.
Right.
Because I'm not just going to have a bunch of people trying to suck all the energy that I have, because they don't know anything about business. They don't know anything about selling. They don't know anything about prospecting. So then I'm going to be the guy that you're going to seek to, and I'm going to become your professor. And that's not the case. Like, I want to make sure that you are building a business. You're not my employee. We're partners, right?
Yeah.
So you need to focus on learning.
Right.
So theory is important, because the wise people, they learn with other people's mistakes.
Right.
Right. So, but to your extent, just focusing on theory and not taking any action on it.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like there's a perfect balance. And then in your case, you can speak with a lot of property on this, because you went through the college experience, right? Which, as you mentioned, there's a lot of principles that you pick up. So sticking to deadlines, being on time for your classes. So there are certain things that are like developing your character, not only your knowledge of the certain subject that you're studying, but those are things that you can actually apply to your everyday life. So I think where people a lot of times lack is because you go to college, and now more than ever, that degree that you're going to get at the end of your college career doesn't guarantee you jack squat.
Nothing.
So then you have to implement all the stuff that you mentioned. So your sales skills, prospecting, and the actual like getting your hands dirty. And that's when the practical side of things come in. So if you're able to couple the theoretical with the practical, then you have a winning formula.
Yeah, do I agree? Do I think that you have to go to college in order for you to be successful? No, 100% no. Do I think that you have to focus on acquiring as much knowledge as possible in order to be successful? Yes.
I think there are different avenues where you can acquire knowledge and seek an education.
Exactly. Without
going the traditional college route. So I think we're not downplaying the importance of education. That's always important. You have to be learning every day. Like as we talked about, 1% better every day. You have to be learning in some fashion. There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's all these online courses that you could be taking. So that's still very important.
And nowadays, to be honest, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, everybody's trying to sell a course nowadays." But I'll be 100% honest with you, man. That's a blessing sometimes and a curse sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because now I have access. I can look at the people that I want to be. Right. There's a lot of people that are references in the professional world for me, and to me, and I'm like, they offer a course. What's the best way for me to get in touch with this person? Let me buy this person's course and learn from them, right?
Absolutely.
So nowadays, more than ever, with technology and all the access that we have to information, being ignorant is a choice.
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely.
Right? And when you start a business, and the good thing here, everything that you guys are going to hear here at TGC, we're not going to just about things that you should do. We're going to talk about the things that we did it.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the things that we went through, because if I haven't gone through it, I can't come in here and be a hypocrite and tell you to do things that I haven't done myself. But 1,000%, I'm going to tell you, the toughest part of the business is prospecting. Prospecting is the hardest part of the business. And I'll tell you why. Depending on the industry that you're in, right? If you don't know how to prospect, your business will die. Like when you're starting a business, you need to sell. That's all you need to do at first. Sell, because you need money, right? Because once you make money, then you can start investing in other things that you suck. So for example, if I'm not very good at building systems, and I'm not a very organized person, so I had to invest money in systems and personnel to take care of those things for me, create systems and stuff. If I didn't have the money to do that, it wouldn't have happened, right? So at first, the first thing I did was just focusing on selling as much as possible. Now, when we hear the word sales, we forget that it takes skills for you to be able to sell.
Oh yeah.
And it's a whole process, right? And there's so many different types of sales now. So there's door knocking, there's funnels online that you can talk about that way better than I can. There is networking. Building a network of individuals and partners, and you need to understand how to actually talk to people, man. And nowadays, especially people around my age or younger, that's the one skill they're missing,
right?
Because everything's digital nowadays. Like everything is texting, and you don't get the same message across when you're texting someone.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, it's very interesting that it's a very unique and more modern way of approaching people, but in this realm of networking and whatnot, one of the first experiences that I've had where I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone and went into a networking event, I'm sure most people watching this probably know Grant Cardone, the 10X. I went out there to Phoenix for an event. And what was interesting to me is that their sales guys are savages. Like they will follow up until death to make sure that you close with them. Props to them, because I mean, they're super well trained. They know their product, so they're able to be very confident when they step in front of you and sound very convincing. And what was interesting was that when you talked about this texting, where you are not able to get a lot of your message across because you're very limited to words, and the person interprets it however they see fit. So your tonality, how you present yourself, your posture, there's all these things that matter that kind of you're not able to transmit that through a text. And what they did was, it was a guy and a girl. They sent me a video by text, said my name, how excited they were for having me there. Within 5 minutes that I stepped into the establishment, the hotel, they found me. And they were right there and then following up with me, asking me questions. So they sold me very well. And that's the sort of stuff that is super important, because those were skills that they developed. And what I found with my own experience is that I became a better salesperson when I built more confidence in myself and also confidence in the product that I have to offer.
Absolutely.
So you have to have complete confidence that what you are providing is actually going to give that prospect some sort of value. So I'm able to step in front of a prospect and talk about, hey, you're in this position right now, and with my product, I can take you here based on things that I have already done. So I have proof of concept, and also based on the industry itself. You see all these other people doing it, you know you need to do it, but you don't know how. So here it is.
Yeah, so think about what you just said, right? So if we can analyze from the people that sold you the event, right? One, they adapted. They're like, okay, people do text, but I'm still going to send them a video. So
yes,
that's something that I'm 100%. I got to tell my team on Saturday, this is how we are communicating with our clients from now on. We're going to record a video and send it to them. They mentioned your name.
Yes.
See, that's the first thing you mentioned. You know why? Because the favorite word for you is always your name. Like, your name is your favorite word.
Yes.
Somebody can say Nilto out of the blue. You look like, who said my name, right?
Right.
So they said your name. They greeted you by name when you went there. They followed up. Like, following up is the key, man. You got to follow up intensively. And you know what I don't get? I never got this from a lot of people that start in sales. It's like they are ashamed of following up.
Yes.
It's like, dude, if they're not going to buy from you anyways, like, who cares, bro? Follow up as much as you can until they block your phone number, because they're not going to buy either way. So keep trying. It doesn't matter. Like, keep following up. If you believe that your product is good and it's going to save that person's life, you would do it intensively.
Yes. I mean, I'll add to this, because it's something that was very profound that I brought back from that conference, and that I applied right away into both of my businesses, where even there's a skill set in regards to following up. Even the way that you write the email that you're going to follow up. You don't want to sound too desperate. You don't want to sound too imposing. So there's all these things that you can develop that your closing rate can go up exponentially. So I actually saw this statistic that was crazy, that there are some clients that you may need to follow up like over 20 times before they actually decide to finalize a sale. So speaking from the experience last year and the difference that I saw recently, where with our hardscape business, so the first point of contact would be, we would receive the lead, we would get in touch with that individual, and then we would go out and have the appointment. So that's the second. Yeah. So we would go home, write up the proposal, and then we would send that proposal. So that's the third. And then if they don't respond right away, maybe a week later, I would send a follow-up email. But then that's about it, because now there's all these other people coming through the pipeline. So now I'm forgetting to follow up again with these people. That's where the systems comes in. Yeah. Exactly. Especially nowadays with all this AI and all these CRMs, you can automate so much of this stuff. So that's a super valuable skill that if you're not leveraging AI and CRMs into your system, into your business, look into that now, because you are going to fall behind quickly.
And he can help you with it. That's what
Yes, sir. Energy Marketing Solutions. That's one of our services. Reach out. It's exponential, the difference. You'll see. I spoke with another, on the marketing side now. I had a hardscape client that I was talking to, and we went over his numbers, and his closing rate was right around like 20%, which is pretty low. You could probably bump that up to like 25, 30%. And one of the questions that I asked him was, what is your follow-up procedure? And he didn't have one. So it's like, hey, man, look, maybe you don't need to spend more money to get more leads for you to be out there and having more appointments. Maybe you can treat the leads that you already have a little bit better. And you may increase your closing rate by 10%. And all of a sudden you're looking at like $500,000 more at the end of the year without doing a lot more work, because now you're not going to more appointments. So,
and that's where I think there's a lot of people that don't know anything about business.
Right.
And they start a business. And I think that's a mistake, because you do need to study a little bit about how to manage a business. Otherwise, you're not an entrepreneur. You're just an employee of your business.
A glorified employee.
Exactly. A lot of people, instead of running their business, they let the business run them.
Yes.
I have a guy who is very successful, I've actually tried to invite him to come to this podcast and talk to us. But
Come on, man.
He's always busy. Like, he doesn't have time for anything. I was like, bro, what's the purpose? What's the point of being your own boss, having money, if you don't have time? To me, you got it wrong, because the currency is time.
Right.
Me. Time is of the essence. It doesn't matter if you tell me, I'm going to retire in 10 years. Bro, how about the time that you have now? You don't even know if you're going to be here in 10 years.
Right.
Like, you're playing the game the wrong way. And the problem is, this guy thinks that what he does, no one else can do it. And that's a huge mistake. I guarantee you may think that you're the best at what you do. There's somebody out there doing it better than you. 100%. You can be sure. Like, there's no problems that you're going to face that no one else has faced. Yeah.
Nobody's irreplaceable, man.
All you need to do is seek a mentorship, seek mentors, and you value this, because a lot of people are so stubborn to think that, no, man, I don't believe anybody will know more than I do. Like, how ignorant is that? And people think like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You talked about believing in the product. I tell my agents all the time, the word enthusiasm, the last 4 words, stands for I am sold myself. If
you know what I actually learned? Quick note. I was actually with Jordan Peterson a couple weeks ago, and he talked about enthusiasm. You know where that word comes from?
No, I don't.
Greek. And in the middle there, enthusiasm and theo, it's like the direct translation is filled with the Spirit of God.
Wow. There you go. So you got to be filled with the Spirit of God, and you got to believe
have some enthusiasm in your stuff.
You got to believe in what you're saying, because the reality is this, man. How are you going to sell me something that you're not applying in your life yourself?
Yeah.
Right? And I talked to, this guy came to me one time asking to help him with his close rate. He's a real estate agent. And I was like, well, bro, do you own a house? He's like, no. It's like, so how are you going to sell me a house? Like, I'm not even going to try. I think it's this one, right?
I don't know.
What I told him is, I was like, listen, man, I'll be honest with you, 100% honest. If I were to buy a house and I asked you about your house and you told me you didn't own one, I most likely would find someone else.
Right.
Right? It's like you go to a doctor and he tells you, hey, man, this surgery is very serious. It's life and death. It's going to be my first time. Right? But don't worry, man. I'm confident that I can do it. How would you feel if you were the patient, right?
Right.
You're probably like, hey, I got to find someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to be the first one. I don't want to be the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Right? So being enthusiastic, believing in the product, and buying the product yourself is important.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked at Merrill Lynch, at Bank of America Merrill Lynch, they're the same company if people don't know about that. Same thing. A lot of the financial advisors there would advise people to buy stocks. And I would ask them, did you buy that stock?
Right.
They will, no. And then if you do research, 99% of the stocks that are referred to the masses, right? They're not owned by the top 1%.
Funny.
Isn't it interesting, right? So they're telling you to buy it. They're telling you it's a great purchase,
right,
but they don't do it themselves. They're telling you to do 401ks, IRAs, all these things, but they don't do it themselves. So you got to think about these things, man. Like from a consumer standpoint and from an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right? From the guy who's selling the product. How is your customer going to see you is very important. You got to love the product, use the product, speak from experience, and tell stories about the product.
Yes. One of the things you mentioned about how everybody nowadays is selling a course, right? And that's something to be very mindful of, because there are a lot of people out there who are positioning themselves, their branding, and their marketing efforts as like an authority in certain field, but their authority only began because they started an Instagram account. They don't have a track record that what they're talking about on Instagram, they've actually done prior to this online image that they're building for themselves. So you have to be very mindful on who you're following and who you might buy a course from. You have to look for an actual track record. Look, this guy's actually done what he's saying that he does. Because I've seen so many of these coaching gurus be like, what are you coaching? Like, what have you done?
Paulo Vieira, like when I had an experience with Paulo Vieira, I told you about, like we spent like an hour in the airport talking, and he told me, he was like, Victor, be very mindful of the people you follow on the internet, because you got to understand if they became an expert based on their craft or if they became an expert because they're good at digital marketing.
Yes. Yes.
So he was like, I've been doing this for 30 years. Like when I started doing this, no one else was doing it. And Paulo Vieira is crazy good. Like he has a school called Febracis, and that's one of the courses. That girl that asked me if she should drop school and just work with me full time, I was like, yeah, you can, but you're gonna do every single quarter a course over there at Febracis, because I vouch for their courses, because they're about business, about communication, prospecting, selling. I'm actually gonna take 2 courses with them now. One about public speaking. The other one, I don't even remember. One of my friends just invited me. He was like, hey, I'm going to get a 50% discount if I invite someone else. Like, let's do it. It can't be bad. You always learn, right? And that's the kind of thing. Like, you got to vouch. You got to do some research on the people that you're going to follow.
You got to vet.
You got to vet the people. And, like, let's talk about Pablo Marçal, for example. If all Brazilians probably know him, right? Do I think the guy is a con artist? No, I don't think so. He has a huge track record. If you've watched his courses, the dude is a genius. He's very smart. But he's also very good at digital marketing. Very, very good. So nowadays, every single thing that he does is trying to sell you something. Is it bad? No. Learn from it, man. Yeah. Learn from it, but just don't buy everything from it.
Right.
Like, don't just be... And it's crazy because Paulo, he called us, the people that just follow these guys, he used an analogy of us being cows, just feeding on their content, boosting those people's egos and getting them more views and followers. It was like, even if you're not buying anything from them, you are buying it if you're following them. And he told me, none of these people will post anything relevant to you. You can't go to their Instagram in 30 seconds and learn something that's going to impact your life. Learn something that's going to change your life. They're going to talk about all this theoretical stuff, but they're not really going to tell you how to do it. For example, you go to any famous people today, to any famous entrepreneur, the first thing you're going to see, they're going to tell you to network with people that are making more money than you. But here's the thing. People that are making more money than you, they don't want to hang out with you.
Right.
So how do you get there? Like, that's something that I struggled last year because my business is all about networking, right?
Yeah.
And, dude, what I had to do is serve. I had to do a lot of events for free, do a lot of favors for people without asking anything in return, and just hoping that some of these people that I'm helping, they're gonna have reciprocity and be like, hey, here you go, what do you need? But guess what? 9 out of 10 people that I served never asked that question.
I mean, I feel like that's an overall law that you may not have kind of reaped what you sowed yet, but I think what you are doing, and it's exactly what we're talking about, you're building a track record that you actually do what you say you do online. So people can actually be like, yeah, we spoke in person, and that's exactly what he's about. So I think you're building that track record that, you don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years from now. I mean, that's...
but if you think about it, God prepares us for this.
Absolutely.
God tells us that do things for people and don't expect anything in return.
Right.
Love everybody, right? Do this. Like, if you think about it. You don't have to like everybody, but you have to love them.
Right.
I think that's a very good definition because there's a lot of people that I don't like. Like, I'm going to be 100% honest, but I have to love them. What does love mean? Just have compassion.
Yes.
Right? I think the biggest change from Victor from last year into this year, and I'm going to continue to change. I'm still 26 years old, right? I'm going to continue to develop, but
change is the only constant.
It is. I've always thought that I had to win the argument. Even with my clients, dude. Isn't that crazy? Like, the moment I realized that, I was like, listen, if the client thinks that this is the best for them and they don't want to listen to me, all right, let me just offer whatever will make that happen for them, and they will buy from me.
Yep.
So that's another tip for you. Don't argue with your clients. Just make their dream happen. Even if you know that their dream is not really a good dream. Like, it's what it is. It's not your place to tell the person, hey, you shouldn't be financing this house for 30 years. You can't even afford it, right? But they really want it. Okay, this is how you're going to do it. And guess what? They will buy from you. They will trust you. They will respect you. And they won't be able to criticize you in 30 years when you tell them, hey, I told you it wasn't a good idea, right?
Right.
You still share your opinion, but don't try to change their mind. I think that's the one thing that I changed. Like, I would express my opinion and try to change your mind.
Right.
Right? No, stand your ground. I'm not telling you to just be a naysayer or not a naysayer. Just some people just take whatever, and they just agree with everybody. I'm not telling you to be like that. You have to have an opinion, but don't force your opinion on other people.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I don't want to say sometimes, I think most of the time, the purpose of an argument sometimes isn't necessarily to win it, But and I mean, unless you're talking like politics or sports, nobody wins ever. It's just a complete waste of time. But if you're in a debate of something that's actually profound or that could actually be of value to your life, you may not win the argument per se, but that individual leaves that conversation with a new thought because you're actually discussing ideas or something that he should consider for his future. So at the very least, maybe he's going to go home, watch a YouTube video. Maybe he's going to ask a second opinion for somebody else. And now he's engaged in a whole new set of conversations that was sparked by that argument that maybe you didn't win, but you planted a little seed that now he's going to think about that particular problem a little bit differently. So you just got to do your job, you know?
And think about the circle. Now let's think about sales. It's the same thing.
Yes.
You educate your client.
Mm-hmm.
Your clients, sometimes they don't know. Like, how can they miss something that they don't know?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So you got to teach. You plant the seed.
Mm-hmm.
Then you keep following up. Because that client, he will stop to think about it now. Like, when I talk to clients and I say, hey, listen, have you ever thought about what happens if you get sick? If you can't perform the activities that you perform on a regular basis? Or what happens 40 years from now if your business is still not where you want to be? Because people, sometimes they don't realize that businesses take generations to thrive, right? Yeah. So if I start a BYOB, maybe my son will have to finish it, or his son will have to finish. So am I just going to keep, hoping that in the future I'm going to make a lot of money, or should I start planting a little seed now? Yes. So when I get old, at least I'm going to have some financial dignity, regardless of whatever happened to my business or to my personal life. Because when it comes to finances, Nilto, it's interesting. People think it wrong. Here's how they think. They have their expenses. They have their income minus their expenses, and whatever is left, they save.
Right.
The reality is most people, and I'm talking about the majority of people.
Vast majority,
they don't have anything left because they don't have any discipline. So they have their income, they have expenses.
And a lot of times the income is bigger than the expenses are bigger than the income because you're financing their life through a credit card.
Exactly. So then the way we need to think about it is it's the opposite. Is my income minus my investments, that's what I get to spend. And that's where the pay yourself first comes in, right? But people think that paying myself first means, okay, let me get this money and invest into real estate. Let me invest into stocks. No, actually a portion of this money should be in a very boring place that whenever you need it, you have it.
An emergency fund?
An emergency fund, a rainy day fund. Because most people use credit cards for emergencies. That's the reality, right? So this that I just do, I may have sparked a plug into people's mind and they're like, oh, crap. Yeah. I never thought about this way. So now this person will most likely start consuming content around finances. Correct. They're going to educate themselves. And not always, but most of the times they're going to go back to the person that first sparked that notice on them and be like, hey, Victor, can you tell me a little bit more about it? Like, I'm actually been thinking about this for a while now, And
that also happens. It's also a principle that happens within the kingdom of God, because sometimes you may engage in a conversation where you start preaching to that person about Jesus, and that person may not take it right away and be like, okay, yeah, I want to be saved and I want to get baptized tomorrow. That may not happen, but you planted a little seed and you don't know. Maybe they'll come back to you. Maybe they'll visit a church and you don't know. But when you get to heaven, God will tell you, like, well done, my good and faithful servant. You planted that seed and that person's saved. So I've actually, and this happened with the previous episode when one of our reels just kind of like floating around, somebody reached out and be like, hey, I saw this video and I was actually really interested in talking to you more about God, which is the sole purpose of why we do this. And it's the same thing with business. I'm actually, following a similar thought process. When I approach a client, and I saw this within my business as well, so I can speak with confidence. There's like a cycle within a business. So you are, let's say, for example, a painter, right? You arrive and you start painting for somebody. And then you're like, oh, this guy's making money off my back. I'm going to start my own business. So then you become a painter who owns a painting company. But you're still going to paint. And then you start hiring people. But you are now, like we talked about earlier, that glorified employee, because now you are painting and now you have all these other concerns as a business owner. So now you got to think about insurance, liability, and overhead and taxes and all these other things that you weren't thinking about when you were just a painter. So now there's just all this new set of skills that you need to acquire in order to successfully run this business. And then people get caught in this position right here where they hope to make more money the following year without doing anything different. So look, man, if you want to scale this business to actually get to a point where you are thinking about retirement and living off of this passively, so to speak, there are certain steps that you need to integrate in order for your business to thrive. And that's where the networking came in for me, because only when I stepped out of my comfort zone and I started speaking with people that were at the level where I wanted to reach, I started thinking about systems and thinking about marketing from a different perspective and hiring salespeople and having a management person, so a secretary, so to speak. So that's when I opened up, and I'm sitting there with my dad for the hardscape business. Be like, Dad, what's our projection from next year? And we did all these calculations and back and forth, and was like, okay, we hit 2.1 million in 2022, which I thought was a great year. It was the first year that we ever hit 2 million. We were super happy. And then the following year, we didn't even hit 2 million because we were just hoping to do that again. We didn't have actual strategy to get there. So now, after I came back from Phoenix, it's not just because it's like this, I was super motivated, but I came back with a plan. Like I had it written down. Like these are the things we're going to implement. And my goal this year is 4 million. And I can actually put it on paper and be like, hey, if we do this, this, and this, there's no reason why we shouldn't hit the 4 million mark. But now I'm not just hoping for it. I set a plan. There's a system that we put in place. We hired another salesperson. We have somebody in management. So now, before we hit 2 million, but me and my dad were the ones going out to the appointments, writing the proposals. I was creating the 3D everything. Designs. I was doing the marketing. I was updating the website. I was the one responsible for taking pictures, videos. It was all on me and him. The only thing that we subbed out was like bookkeeping, which
and the work.
Yeah, and pretty much the work. But everything else was falling on me and him. So I was like, hey, maybe the reason why we're not making more money is because I'm not delegating the work that I can delegate and focusing on what I'm good at, which is selling. I got to be out there. I got to present the product. I got to show my potential clients. I got to be following up. So
a simple rule of thumb is for any entrepreneur, anybody who started a business, I want you to think about how much you get paid. You, business owner, how much you get paid. And now think about everything that you do. If there's any area in your business that let's say you are answering the phone and you spend 10 minutes on the phone, right? And you answer 10 calls a day, that's almost 2 hours of your time.
Right.
How much did you get paid for those 2 hours versus how much you would have gotten paid if you had paid somebody to do this and you could have used your time for something else?
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that, especially when you have a business, sometimes the best investment that you will make is back into your business.
Right.
Right? It's getting... I don't agree that you should invest 100% of your money back into your business because you got to spread it around, right? But you got to invest the majority of your funds into your business, especially in the beginning when you're starting out.
Absolutely.
Because hiring people that, for example, you can get somebody on minimum wage to answer the phone. You give them a couple of scripts, teach them how to answer, teach them how to be hospitable and greet people. You're good to go, right? That's a load off your plate. For example, for me to be here, I have an army of agents prospecting to me right now. So then when I go back home, my schedule is filled.
Right.
But in the beginning, when I started, I was trying to do everything. And when you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of nothing. So you got to focus your time where you make the most money.
Right.
Especially when you're running a business. But look at what you said, man. You went to one event.
Mm-hmm.
One event, it opened up your mind so much. And now you're already thinking about doubling the production of your business.
Yeah. Which I saw as impossible before because every projection that we made, we were like, if we have a perfect year, we're at 2.5. Like that makes no sense. Like
right.
I will not.
Scalable.
Yeah, no, I will not accept this. Like there's got to be ways that we can change this.
And it goes back to education. So
yeah,
it's not just college. It's not just high school. It's not none of that. So if you are a builder, and the reality is a lot of the people in our network, they're immigrants that came in here and no documents, so they had to start sub jobs, right? Construction, cleaning, whatever. I actually went to an event last year. Don't ask me how I ended up in there, but I ended up in there. It was an event for cleaning ladies, right? Every cleaning lady in the book. And there was this big cleaning lady that I forgot her name, that she was making millions of dollars having a schedule, like having a business in cleaning, making millions. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, dude, this is it. You can make money in whatever you do.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. I actually know a guy who he picks up trash. and he makes millions. Because he's picking up trash for 50 different, no, it's not 50 states, it's 50 districts. So you know how many, dude, it's an all-year job. Like, you don't stop. People still produce trash. And he's got a contract with the city. And he said, when I first started, everybody made fun of me because they call me brasileiro, lixeiro, a trash man. But now, you know, I'm picking up their trash and make money from it. So it's what it is. He saw an opportunity, he took it, and he told me, like, I invested in education because I knew that just picking up the trash is not going to make me money. It's creating a system is what's going to make me money. Create a strategy. And then let's think about succession. You think about retirement. You want to sell your business. Let's say 40 years from now, you want to sell your business. If you don't have a system, if you don't have the business only depends on you, you're the heart and soul of the business, nobody's going to buy the business from you because they know if you step out, the business will die.
It can't even be evaluated.
You got to, like, the key here as an entrepreneur is developing a business that's completely
automated.
Not just automated, but duplicatable, where people can easily duplicate this business without you being in there.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You got to document and record everything that you do, and you got to start teaching people how to do it. That's like something I still haven't mastered with BRLB. Like, we're working hard on it, and we're spending a lot of money in creating systems and stuff because I want to get anybody from any background, and as long as they follow the model, they will be able to create an empire, right? Right now we have that, but they still depend on me to teach them.
Right.
I want eventually Victor to be out of the picture, right? They don't need Victor. The business. Obviously, I'm still gonna have to be there. That human energy and presence is very important.
Of course.
You elevate people's frequencies and stuff, but there are certain tasks on the day-to-day that I don't need to be there, but I need to create a system. I need to have trained people to be better than you. And then we can go to the next step. We talked about prospecting, we talked about sales, we talked a little bit about network, but let's talk about leadership. Because here's the thing, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to develop leaders. And especially amongst the Brazilian community, a lot of people, a lot of business owners, they're scared of teaching their employees because they think that their employees are going to start their own business and leave.
That is true.
Right? So in your case, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, as far as the fear of training, I don't think that's necessarily a viable concern. I think that's dumb. What I'll say is that based on my current experience, based on the years that I've been in the hardscape industry, is that there are people that are just, I don't believe that they are cut out to be business owners. I believe that flat out. I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone. I don't think owning a business is for everyone. What I do believe is that everybody can contribute to a business to the best of their abilities. So I'll speak from my experience is that me and my father run the hardscape business. We are very good salesmen. I'm able to represent the business well. I'm able to make the customer feel good about their decision, but I can't lay down a brick. But we've got guys in our teams that are amazing bricklayers. They don't have the confidence to approach a client and sell, but they have total confidence in how good the finished product is going to be. So it's all teams. They may not be a leader, so to speak, to be a business owner, but there are some people that are good leaders, crew leaders, for example. So they're all lead. You have leadership, I think, in different capacities, right? So there's a crew leader that he's the main dude who has to be overseeing the job, making sure that things are running smoothly. And then we have leaders within the business that you actually lead the company.
Well, but let's say you have somebody who is just as good as you at doing what you do.
Okay.
How do you keep this guy from leaving?
To me personally, I think it's about culture, for one. I think they have to feel valued, and there needs to be a vision for growth. I think that's where where leaders will leave. So if you have a business that is structured and be like, look, guys, here's where we are, and here's where we're going to get to. Now, every leader needs to be guided by a vision. If you have a leader within your team, you hold on to that however you can, because they're hard to come by.
But that's the thing. Like, and this is what I'm trying to hammer down into the community. We do a lot of events. Like I do a lot of networking events for free, and I network with a lot of business owners. And I'm always approached about this. And oh man, it's hard to find good employees.
If not.
It's hard to find good employees is because you got a shitty culture.
Exactly.
That's how it is. I mean, it's
good
just
people
simple.
will not work for bad businesses.
Because I think about myself when I worked for Bank of America. Why did I leave? It wasn't because of money only, but to a certain extent, it was how long it will take for me to grow here.
Yes.
And looking at everybody around and not wanting to be in those people's shoes. So when we talk about creating a culture, what do we really mean? And this is what I have at BYOB, at least. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about things that I haven't done. So at BYOB, I created a model that the newest member of my team, if he works harder than anybody else, he can surpass even me. Like, that's how fair it is, the compensation plan. Like, you can make more money than the owner of the company because you're working harder than him.
Right.
Right? That's, to me, like, that's the kind of place I want to work at. How do you create a culture like this in your business? Commissions.
Yeah.
Like I tell people all the time, listen, you cannot tell me that you're trying to find good people when you're paying them a salary.
Right.
Because the people that want to leave off of salaries, they're not going to work hard for you.
Yes.
And they know for a fact they're intimidated by commissions because they don't have what it takes. They're lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Victor, you're calling me lazy? Yes, I am. Because when I tell you that it's a commissions job, you're like, oh my God, but I have bills to pay. It's like, so go work, go sell. You make
What's
money.
interesting when you talk about a commission job is that, in essence, a commission job depends solely on you.
Yes.
If you work hourly, you can slack off for 3 and still get paid for 8.
And
when you only work for 3.
That's the thing, dude. When you pay somebody a salary, their game is, how can I work the least amount possible to get paid and not get fired?
Right. And that was one of the we actually applied it. The compensation model within the business, even in the hardscape industry, I told him we spoke about this. I was like, Dad, there's no way that we are going to get the same production if we're just paying per hour. There needs to be some sort of incentive for them to work at a certain pace that we're not overworking them, but it's a plausible expectation where everybody it's more well compensated for it. Because if we're able to get a job done that we should be able to finish it in 3 days, but it takes 5, everybody's losing money.
Exactly.
Everybody, including them. But there are a lot of times that they don't think of it that way. So that's where the part of the education comes in. And when we build a culture, because like, hey, listen, the reason why we need you guys to finish this job in 3 days is not because you guys are our slaves. Like, look, this is how it works. There's this much profit. If you're able to finish it in 3 days, here's a portion for you. So now there's incentives
for everybody.
Incentive for everybody. So you shouldn't.
That's the thing. Like it's so tough to talk about this because some people are going to interpret it the wrong way. But some businessmen, some business owners are greedy, greedy, and they don't understand that, dude. If you don't take care of your team, if you don't pay them well, they will leave.
Yes.
And here's the thing: if somebody leaves your business because they're getting $1 more, it's not because of the dollar. It's because they hate working for you.
Agreed.
Like nobody's gonna shift their entire life because of $1, $1 or $2. There's something wrong with your culture, but that's when accountability comes in. The reason we talk about this a lot, part of my job is business strategies, right? And a business owner sits down with me. He tells me their employees are leaving. They have a problem with retention. I was like, all right, man, listen, I want to work for you. Sell me the idea of working for you. Oh, I got work all year.
Got it.
That's it. Okay, what else? So that's good for you. What's in it for me? I got paid a salary. I don't care if you got work all year. Like, I'm gonna get paid either way, right? Salary is different than hourly. He goes, oh, I don't know. It's like, dude, this is it. People are not leaving the business. They're leaving you. You suck as an entrepreneur. You suck as a business owner. You suck as a leader. And that's why people don't realize this. 95% of businesses fail within the first 2 years.
Yep.
95%. But they go to Instagram, everybody's successful on Instagram. And then everybody wants to start a business. But 95% of business will fail. When I say this to people, hey, you shouldn't start a business without learning some fundamentals about managing businesses, understanding KPIs and stuff. And then a lot of guys who are successful tell me, oh, I started a business and I didn't need to know any of these things. It's like, how long ago did you start a business? 30 years ago. Okay, dude, this is different now.
Right. Yeah, it's a completely different culture.
30 years ago, if you were good at what you did, you'd be great because there wasn't that many people with the same information as you have. Nowadays, somebody can arrive from Brazil, spend 2 weeks studying YouTube, they're going to learn the craft and they're going to do it as well as you do.
Yeah.
Like it's that simple nowadays, man. Like
with the difference in like in the age of information nowadays, it's you have to work as a business owner, you have to work extra hard for the retention because there's more competition and there's more information readily available that this person can go online and be like, hey, I'm not being fairly compensated. There's this other business who might hire me and I'm going to get paid much better and I'm even working in a much better culture. So as a business owner nowadays, it's more competitive than ever. So you have to be in your A game. And what I'll say is that you going back to, you were talking about this in the previously, you take, for example, a painter as my example, or the house cleaner, right? A great house cleaner does not mean that she's going to be a great business owner for a house cleaning business. Now, you take two people like me and you, for example, based on the principles that we know of business, we could probably start any sort of business and you would be relatively successful. Because for a painting company, the skill of painting is probably the easiest thing to find. But structuring the business to run in a profitable and successful way is a lot harder because it's a whole different set of skills that's more hard to come by. So I think that's where people get it wrong, where they think that based on their limited knowledge, they can just kind of carry this business on.
It's out of ignorance. Because
it is ignorance. Yes.
For example, you spend 20 years painting, 20 years cleaning a house. Yes, you're going to be an expert on doing what you're doing. I'm 26, and for the past 16 years of my life, my focus was reading books, studying hard, learning all the strategies possible, and I'm still learning. I don't know everything. Mm-hmm. So I can be an authority at my field. And it baffles me when I sit down with some people, with some business owners that are starting, and they are not even cracking $2 million, $3 million in revenue. And they look at me like, I don't know if I should trust you. And in my mind, I was like, bro, if businesses that I was running at the bank were making $100 million and they're trusting my advice, why wouldn't you listen? Because at first, because when they hear some of the strategies that I give them, it's like, oh, I don't know anybody doing this, man. Like, what? I don't know if it will work. Like, they freak out. I'm like, bro, obviously you haven't heard this. Then this is a great thing, because if you just do what the majority of people will do, you're gonna get the popular result. Mm-hmm. And what's the popular result? It's the mediocre result that everybody has, right? Dude, it is very simple. When it comes down to businesses, business owners have to spend at least 30% of the time educating themselves. And you got to be open-minded. You have to. If you don't find the time to educate yourself, you will be left behind.
Easily.
You will be. Nowadays, and I'm telling you, nowadays with AI, things are moving at such a fast pace. Like I didn't know about AI in 2022. I learned about AI when we started the podcast in the end of 2022. Yeah. That's when I learned about AI, right? My business will not survive without AI nowadays. Like, it will not. Like, right. AI runs the business.
Pretty much, yeah.
It is insane. And then I'm thinking, how did I do this without AI before? And some businesses don't even know what artificial intelligence is. Mm-hmm.
And there's levels to it too, because I mean, people are very superficial. Yeah. Like, everybody's got the little app on their phone that they ask random questions. That's like the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. There's some like advanced prompting that you should definitely be looking into, because
then you talk to Christians, they're like, oh no, God will provide. So you know what, I do this.
God provided AI. Use it.
So listen, do you lock your car, Nilto? Do you lock your car when you walk away?
Sometimes I forget. Right? Wife?
Do you your house? Do you lock your house?
Yes, of course.
Right? Do you put a seatbelt on Melissa and Isabella when they're in the car? But why, bro? You're a Christian.
Safety.
Right? But isn't God going to protect you? Don't you pray for protection all the time? So why would you put a seatbelt on Melissa and Isabella, on you? Right? It's the same principle. Yeah. Okay? Like, you pray for God so nobody to see your car, but you still lock the car. You pray God for safety, but you still protect your kids. You pray for God for Him to help you with your business, but you're not helping yourself.
Yes. I got this story that I remembered. So there was a flood, and there's this dude just floating in the water all by himself, and he's praying to God, like, God, please save me. So then this dude drives by with a jet ski. He's like, come on, let's go. He's like, no, God will save me. Like, all right, bye. And then this dude comes with a boat. He's like, come on, let me help you. He's like, no, it's okay. God will save me. And then all of a sudden this helicopter comes, a ladder drops. He's like, hey, come on. Like, no, it's okay. God will save me. He died. He gets to heaven. He's like, God, you didn't save me. He's like, dude, I sent 3 people to help you. Why didn't you just accept the help? And that's where I think we touched on the accountability aspect of it. And I think the accountability also goes hand in hand with pride, right? A lot of people are too proud to step out of their comfort zone and be like, hey, I need help. And that was probably one of my faults for a long time within business, because I thought that I was doing well within my reality. As soon as you step out and you be like, hey, I'm nothing. Like, there are other people out there that are doing significantly more, and I can learn a thing or two from them. So you got to break that pride and the accountability that, like, it's on me to make changes in order for my business to go. You can blame the economy. You can blame the inflation. You can blame the president. You can blame competition. You can blame small businesses undercutting you, whatever.
Yeah.
If you position yourself well enough, you will have the recognition. You will have the business coming through the door, but it's on you to make those things happen.
And it's sometimes God will put your business to turmoil because, we're inside of a gym. So I'm going to use the analogy of a gym, right? If you're working out, you got to put your body through hell first before you get results, right? Mm-hmm. You got to destroy your muscle tissues before they grow. I feel like you got spiritual muscles that you have to strengthen as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to tell you,
faith itself is a muscle.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Last year when I started my business, I made 80% of all the money I made that year in the first 3 months. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a multi-millionaire in the first year in business. And I had never seen that much money in my life. And, you make $300,000-$400,000 in 3 months, bro. It changes you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. And I didn't know I was changing, but God knew I was changing. So out of the sudden, he pulls the carpet from under me, and a lot of things that I couldn't explain started to happen. Getting betrayed by people, people leaving the business that I didn't think they would leave. And I find myself in a situation that I'm like, okay, let me stop praying for God to get me out of the situation, and let me just start praying for God to give me the strength to go through it.
Yes, sir. Very different prayer.
Very different prayer.
Oh, yeah.
And I started to do that, and I started to realize that who I had to become to get to the next level, what I needed to change, stop blaming the people that I feel like they betray me, and I'm understanding what I did to cause this to happen.
Right.
Because if anything happens to you, it's your fault.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. And that's what I had to realize. It's like, it doesn't matter what they did, what I think they did, if it's fair or not. It may not be fair. It's whatever, right? What do I need to do so I don't go through this again? And who do I need to become to get to the next level? And who do I need to become to get out of the situation I'm in? I feel like God did this because I have never trusted God as much as I did the past 8 months of my life. Like, yeah. I was always so used to being able to handle all the problems on my own. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm self-sufficient. Like, I can handle this. And I honestly feel that God let this happen to me because he knew I had to humble myself, like, to him.
Yeah.
To him. I have to humble myself to him. Hey, dude, you're nothing, right? And then I was reading the Old Testament, and I love reading Exodus. It's one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. God did not take the Israelites to the shortest way to the promised land. Mm-mm. He took them to the longest way possible. And I can only imagine how many times people prayed to God hey, God, dude, just take me to the shortest life possible. Like, I'm in the desert, like, people are dying, come on. But God knew that if they let these people go in to the promised land, like, soon, they weren't prepared for it spiritually, physically, because the people that were occupying the promised land, they were huge, they were soldiers, right? So God knew he had to prepare those people for, grow the spiritual muscle, and grow the muscle to be able to face those challenges, right? Mm-hmm. So that gave me strength. I was like, you know what? The biggest challenge and the bigger the turmoil that you're going through your life, the bigger is going to be the outcome. Like if you're going through something tough right now, you may be thinking of throwing in the towel, giving up. Just remember, if you persevere through this, the reward will come.
Yes, sir.
It will be huge. It will be great. And understand how to be thankful during those moments.
I think that's what the Israelites needed a lot of work on too. That gratitude.
It just took 80 years to get to the promised land, right?
Well, you know. But I think, I mean, obviously we framed this episode a lot on entrepreneurship, and this is like a perfect conclusion of how important faith is in our lives in general, but very importantly in entrepreneurship, because you don't have all the answers. And you need to have faith in something bigger than you in order for you to ride these times, because there are going to be tough times. When you talk about, who was it? The one that interpreted the dream? The 7 years, I forget the names. Joseph, yeah. The 7 years of famine, and then the 7 years of the fat cows. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of if, it's when. It's always going to happen. There is going to be downtime in the economy. There is going to be competition in your field. All these problems, you can't avoid these problems. But what you can is prepare yourself the best way possible. And it comes with a little bit or a whole lot of faith in order for you to ride those times.
And you mentioned Grant Cardone, so I will make a mention of him. Be very, very careful for what he preaches. Very careful.
Yes.
Grant Cardone is not a role model to me.
Not at all.
He is, to the people that are in the same level as he is great.
Right.
But he says things like, don't have any money saved up, invest all your money, do this. But here's the thing. When you're hearing this and you don't know what to do with your money, this is what you're hearing. I don't need to have a savings account. Let me go buy this purse that I want. Let me buy these shoes. Let me buy this expensive car. Mm-hmm. And I saw, he made a post like this one day, and I saw a lot of people posting on the internet. You know, all these guys, I have a lot of people that are selling right now, and they're killing in sales. And, you know, great for them. They're killing in sales. But it's not a businessman. You're a salesperson. There's a difference between being a business person and a salesperson is totally different. I love sales, not judging who sells. Prompts to you. We just mentioned here the only way for you to get out of the rat race is if you're selling something and you're commission-based.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
But you're not a business person. So here's the thing. You don't have to worry because you're getting leads from the company you work for. When you're a business owner, you need to think about the future. You need to prepare for those years of famine that will come. You can't just invest all the money you have, because he has a saying that he says he goes broke all the time and reinvests in real estate. He has $3 billion of assets.
Right.
If he struggles, he just goes to the bank, takes a huge line of credit. If you struggle, what's going to happen? I want to end this episode with this. If you're a business owner, learn how to ask the question, what if? What if my best salesperson quits? What if I get sued? If you don't know what lawyer you're going to call, you have an opportunity. What if I don't sell anything last month? If you don't have a reserve, if you don't have a line of credit, that's an opportunity. Because if you don't have a line of credit now, when you need it and you try to get it, that's too late, right? So start asking the question, what if? And you're going to be set. All right, guys.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
catch you on the next episode.